welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube channel. I'm Kamiko Love from thebudgetmom.com, and today we're going to be doing a full budget recap for the month of April. So I'm going to be going over my Where Did My Money Go worksheets, as well as I'm going to take some time today in today's video to kind of explain why I do some of the steps I do. For instance, looking at my starting and closing balance on my checking account expense tracker and going over some of those steps, because the steps that I complete are there for a reason. One is to ensure that I'm filling out and closing out my budget properly, but also so I can make the most informed decisions, the best decisions for my dollars going forward. Remember, we don't close out our budget just to look at our spending or to even just take the action of tracking our spending, then never look at it again. We're trying to understand what our spending is telling us so we can have that knowledge and information to make better decisions with our dollars. So let's jump in. Okay, so if you've been following me for a while, then you know the very first step that I do is getting fully updated with my expense tracker before I start filling out my Where Did My Money Go worksheets and starting the process of closing out my budget. This is really important because learning how to track your spending properly and accurately is really important so you can make the most informed decisions with your dollars and make sure that you're getting that Where Did My Money Go worksheets filled out as correctly as possible. So got all of that done. First step, making sure you're fully updated with your spending for all areas in your life. So wherever there's money movement, whether that's on your credit card, in cash, from your debit card, whatever it may be, get those expense trackers updated. Now let's look at my budget for my budget recap for April. Now let's start with my monthly budget category breakdown. This is the first month that I didn't use any money saved. So my total monthly inflow, this 6848, is my starting balance, which in the beginning of April, in my checking account, I had $648. Earned income was $5,600. Other income was $600. Now, if it's in red here in my budget categories, I was over budget. And if it's in green, I was under budget. I always want to be over budget in savings. So I did good, saved 29% of that inflow. I was over $194 in household. Now, anytime I question like, okay, well, why was I over? I'm going to go back to my expense trackers really quickly. Okay, so let's start looking at my household, different types of things and what stands out that isn't normally in my budget. First thing that pops out, garbage dump and a Target run. I know that this garbage dump, I used the $50 cash that I had inside of my dedicated household envelope. I then stole money for the rest of the $5 and this $140 at Target from other envelopes. That's where I came up with the cash. I was still over budget though. So these two things alone, which is about $190, is why I'm over the $194 in household. I was over $32 in my garden. I just used my garden sinking funds. Now you might be saying, well, Miko, if you had the money in your sinking fund, why are you still showing over budget? Well, that's simply because I didn't plan to use my garden sinking fund. This was not in my budget. I just randomly made this purchase. So for me, I am over budget because I didn't plan for it. And then fun and entertainment. Here's another one. I was over by $126. Well, let's go to my expense trackers. So now I'm going to go to my checking account expense tracker and start looking, okay, what are some things that aren't normally in my budget, okay, that might have put me over? First and foremost, I signed up for my first 10K. There was a registration fee of $75. All right. So that accounts for the sum of the $126 I was over. Let's keep going down here. UFC fights. That wasn't in my budget. Came from my checking account, $86. Now, I just use my checking account cushion for these purchases. And I'm sharing where I got the dollars when I'm over budget, because I get that a lot. Well, Miko, if you're over budget, where are you getting all this money to cover it? So though I'm using the different options in my life. So those two things right there are why I'm over budget in my fund. And those are things being an investigator and asking questions, digging deeper. Okay, why? Why? Are those purchases concerning to me? No. But having the knowledge of what's happening with my money for me is really important. Now let's go over to my monthly debt and savings breakdown. Now I've been debt free since 2019, so I track my investments because saving and investing my dollars is now my number one priority. So I invested $800, which is my norm. These are automatic investments that I have every month. They come out like clockwork. And here's what I do with automatic investing, meaning the money pulls out of my checking account automatically and the trades happen automatically. So here's what that looks like. Just show you really quickly. Automatic debt, minimum payments, and automatic savings contributions or investment contributions go in your fixed bills. These are bills that happen like clockwork, usually around the same amount and same date. So for me, this is what I put it here in my fixed expenses, where you should be putting those things. So if we look at like my joint brokerage account, $200 a month on the 15th, happens like clockwork. $529, $500 on the 13th, happens like clockwork. Here's another one, TOD, that's my individual brokerage account, non-retirement, on the 10th for $100, happens like clockwork. I document that here. This is what's called dollar cost averaging. This is what's going to help mitigate some of the lows in the market, and you're going to get more of average returns by dollar cost averaging no matter what the market is doing. It just simply means you are putting in the same amount around the same time every month, regardless of what's happening in the market. That's just to help mitigate some of that turmoil that happens in the market sometimes. Okay, so get back to my debt and investing, or my investing and savings breakdown. So 12%, I was able to save 12% of my monthly inflow. Now, here's why I like breaking down these things. Now, it's always important to know how much you invested every month, how much you saved every month, how much went towards debt. But what's even more important is what specifically are you saving for? What debt are you paying off? Okay, where did your money go for your investments? The myth kind of being that, you only work on one savings or goal, financial goal at a time, you're going to reach it faster. Well, yes, that's true, but that's also not, a lot of times, not real life. More times than not, you're going to be working on a goal, more than one goal at a time. But it's important how much money you're throwing towards each one of the goals that you're working on, because if you order your goals in order of importance and priority, you should be throwing more money towards the most important goals. If I look at this, 62.5% went towards the 529, 12.5% towards my individual, and then 25% towards the joint. So if I were ordering these, okay, the most money went towards the 529, then number 2 spot was the joint, and then my TOD. If I look at this, am I throwing money towards my goals in a way that are important to me, that match my values and in the order of importance of my goals? Yes, they match. Same with my savings. I saved 29% of my monthly income. Well, let's look at it. 93% went towards future expenses that I know are going to be coming up. Those are my sinking funds. 2% $5 challenge and 5% towards Dante's birthday. Are those aligning with my goal priority? Yes. My sinking funds always come first because those expenses are going to happen. I'm just preparing for them a little bit earlier. And the last, if we look at my monthly spending comparison, so I had a decrease in income, massive decrease, $9,645. That's because if we go back to May and we look at my May, where did my money go worksheet, or sorry, not May, in March, look how much my total monthly inflow was, $16,000. Because look at how much of the savings I used in March, because I had my property taxes due in March that I paid. So I had a big decrease because I'm not using any savings. Now, if it's in red, I spent more in April than I did in March. We're doing the monthly spending comparison. And if it's green, I spend less than. So savings, I spent more than, that's always good. I saved more than last month. That's good. I spent less in pets. In March, I was dealing with some vet visits. I wasn't this month. This is more regulated and regular for me. Obviously, big decrease in the household department because I'm not paying my property taxes. I was over in the fun and entertainment because I had those, like I said, those 2 purchases, the UFC fights. And I spent $124 less in my garden. You usually see me do a lot of my garden planning and spending anywhere between January and June. Those are my big spending months for my garden. This is why we track our spending. And this is why we fill out the yearly spending trackers in the beginning of the Budget by Paycheck workbooks. I need to start filling mine out. This is my yearly balance overview. But I still have to fill out February, March, and April. But essentially, you're able to see the trends of your spending for each category. Yeah, I need to get this updated. That's maybe one of the things I can work on in my morning routine. I have all the information. It's here in my workbook. I just have to update the page. But what I've noticed from the past years that I've done this, and I've been doing this for, over 9 years, is I noticed the trend that between January and June is when I do my garden spending. So I know I need to have my sinking fund money saved by January because that's when I'm going to start spending it. It tells me a lot. It helps me plan a lot. All right, so I also did pretty good with my meal planning. I got most of my meal planning I did for April. Don't get me wrong, there was a couple of days where we had to make it work, where we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants, but we made it work. And if we go back to my food, I spent significantly less in April than I did in March. Look at that, $377 less in food. Because a lot of it had to do with this, getting and staying dedicated to our meal plan. So that's my full April budget recap. Okay, so that is my full April budget recap. I know so many of you loved having Ryan on like we did last month, so I'm hoping to have her on for our May budget recap, which is going to be happening, I'm hoping, end of May, early June. Geez, I cannot believe I'm saying June. I'm currently saving and planning my son's, Dante's, first birthday, and I'm like, gosh, it's already been a year. Now, I go a little crazy with the birthdays. I remember for James's first birthday, I did everything. So I made it was dinosaur theme. So I made a bunch of cupcakes and shaped them in the shape of a dinosaur head. I did all the cupcakes, all the cookies. I did all the decorations. I even made his birthday shirt, and I did a dinosaur on it with puffy paint. I remember that. Dante, we're going to be doing, of course, a baseball theme. If you leave it up to my husband, everything is baseball or sports. It is our lives. It's taking over our lives. However, though, super cute. We're doing like a rookie of the year type of thing. And so, yes, I'm doing the hand frosted sugar cookies. I'm making the little baseball smash cake. I'm doing the cupcakes and making all the cute little cupcake toppers with this little face on them. I'm doing the balloon arch and the backdrop and all the other things, and I could not be more excited. This is the stuff I live for. So a lot of planning and stuff like that. If you love birthday parties like I do, then you know my excitement. All right, so also, I know this isn't a May thing, but May, I'm going cashless for a lot of my categories, except for one, food. I'm going to keep the cash envelope for food, but I'm going to be tweaking some of the things that I'm doing with my other cash envelopes that I'm going to be showing later on in my May budget recap. If you found this video helpful, please like it and don't forget to subscribe.